Good morning guys, and welcome to the PhD vlog day 23. I'm coming to you feeling really disappointed in myself today. So it is just 7 o'clock now, and today, as you will have heard in my vlog yesterday, I was planning on going to an event which was about being a digital academic. And I was really looking forward to this, kind of having started this vlog and experimenting with kind of looking at different ways I can aid my research and document my research using digital technology. I thought I'd get a lot out of this event, and I was all organized and I booked my train ticket and I just royally stuffed it up. So I somehow in my head got confused, and I had the time that my train departed, which was 6:45, I had that down in my head as the time which I needed to leave the house. And how I did that, I have absolutely no idea. I guess I just wasn't being careful enough and paying enough attention to detail. Anyway, so obviously 6:45 when I left the house, and then I checked that I had my ticket, I noticed that the ticket was for 6:45. Yeah, so it is now about 8 o'clock and I've just gotten in to Senate House. So I decided, rather than sit around at home feeling sorry for myself, the best thing to do today was to get into the library as soon as possible and not waste the day, basically. So I'm here at the library. It actually doesn't open for over an hour, so I'm just going to work in a cafe for a little bit. Okay, so the library is about to open now, so I'm just heading over to get started for the day. The conference has also just started in Warwick, so I have been following the hashtag on Twitter. Hashtag is JobsQ. If you're interested in digital academia and the ways in which you can use the digital world to kind of help your studies, help your employment prospects and things like that, I'd encourage you really to kind of have a look at that hashtag. I'm sure they'll do a storify of the tweets, and I believe they're also doing some videos to go with today's event, so make sure you check those out. Hi guys, so I'm currently just in the park about to have some lunch, and I thought I should check in. So I've been spending my morning, unfortunately not at this conference that I wanted to be at because I stuffed up my train time, but in the library instead, and I have been following the hashtag for the conference, and believe it or not, writing some notes from the hashtag whilst working on my conference paper. So maybe that sounds like a bit too much multitasking, but I'm actually enjoying kind of tapping back and forth the two things. And I mean, I really wish that I was at this event because it just sounds so incredible, and I have been getting so many ideas from it, feeling validated for what I'm doing with this experiment of the vlog, and also kind of getting a lot of food for thought about where I want to go next with kind of digital academia. So I thought I would share like a few of the bits that I've written down of my notes, and kind of the things which have stood out to me as particularly interesting or particularly relevant for me anyway. So the very first session of the conference was about social media and the modern academic, and kind of the way that you can use social media to establish a voice in your discipline and to kind of get yourself a foothold within new networks. And this definitely resonated well with me. So I found my first tweet on the weekend. Someone had tweeted that you can go to like firsttweet.com or something like that and find out what your very first tweet was. And my first tweet was on the third day of my PhD, and it was about going to German language classes and reading some of Hans Theis Lehmann's post-traumatic theatre. And I didn't realise that I'd only joined Twitter when I started my PhD, and I quite like that it's been such a part of this kind of 3-year process of mine. And it's certainly helped me meet academics, it's helped me network at conferences. I'm sure that if I continue to kind of curate my Twitter, that will continue in the future. Nadine pointed out importantly that social media doesn't equate to publications, so you can't think of this as like a get out clause, and I definitely agree with that. It's kind of an extra garnish for like public engagement and impact, rather than anything which kind of actually takes the place of more traditional academic work. She also talked about using social media as an opportunity and working out what version of yourself you want to put forward, and kind of curating your online identity accordingly. And this is something that I made me think a lot, because something that I like about this video diary is that I feel like when I'm recording myself, the people who might watch this, it's like you're having a conversation with me and it's very authentic. On the other hand, if I had a more traditional, I can't believe I'm calling a blog traditional, but a print medium or a written text, it's much easier to curate a very particular version of yourself and to be much more selective and careful with how you represent yourself. And that's something that I do struggle with. So the kind of risks and merits of doing a video platform for a vlog is something that I'm kind of dealing with myself right now. Anyway, the second section of this conference was presented by Andy Tattersall, I hope that's right, who is also talking more generally about digital resources that you can use. And he had a lot of really good tips, so things like using unroll.me to kind of unsubscribe from junky email subscriptions, which I did about a year ago. Such a good idea. And I'd add to that to use this app. It's for Macs, but I'm sure there's an equivalent for PCs, and it's called Self-Control. And that's not ironic, it is called Self-Control. And what it is it blacklists any website you want it to and renders that website unavailable for up to 24 hours. So you can select 10 minutes to 24 hours. And it's great if you can't resist going onto social media, or even things like I blacklist The Guardian sometimes, things like that, where I will catch myself going on regularly and reading news articles and whatnot. He also had a couple of things which I hadn't heard of, so an app called 3030 and a website Orchid, ORCID, which allows you to manage your kind of research identity and your publications and things. So I'm definitely going to be checking those out. And he kind of did self-validate this process, or validate this process for me. So he's encouraged people to look into videos and said that video is the predominant medium on the web and that academics should be experimenting with videos. And so I was really, really pleased to hear that, because I'm not sure where this is going, what the future of the vlog is, but it was nice to kind of hear that maybe this is a move in the right direction. Anyway, the final one was by the thesis whisperer, Inga Mewburn, who I'm sure everyone will have heard of, one of the gurus online for kind of PhD students and assistants with writing a thesis and managing the workload. And she was talking about academic blogging, and this is something which I have mixed feelings about. So I know a lot of people who blog, but I've never been inspired to blog myself. And I guess that's because I spend so much time staring at a blank wall by myself in silence. And although I want to communicate what I'm doing and engage with people, to me doing more of the same isn't fun. And so that's why this was particularly appealing to me, the idea of injecting some conversation into my day, even if I'm just talking to myself at the time, but finding a different kind of medium for sharing those thoughts. She had a lot of good advice about blogging, collaborating with other people, targeting students and researchers as a particular audience, making sure you find your own niche, thinking about your blog posts as problem solvers, thinking about the significance of your audience rather than the size, and tailoring it to their interests accordingly. Things like that, which I think are all very just as applicable to this. And going forward, I certainly will be thinking about like ways that I could make the vlog more collaborative, or finding more of a niche. I don't think that I will be documenting daily my PhD for the next 4 months, but I am interested in seeing how else I can explore this YouTube idea, and so just finding out what the best way forward is for that. Yeah, so there's a lot of good advice there, lots of food for thought. Yeah, there's definitely some things. So from this, I'm going to go and rewrite tonight the About page on the YouTube channel. I'm going to look at the 3030 app. I'm going to look at Orchid, I guess. Look at Orchid. And I'm going to think a bit more about how I could maybe make this a bit more collaborative. So I have invited some friends and said, like, you know, do you want to take the camera into the British Museum when you work there next? Or things like that. And no one's jumped at the chance. I think people are a little bit uncomfortable about maybe being on video. But I am going to think more about maybe ways in which I could try and make this a little bit more collaborative. And maybe one of the answers is to create a website and have this as just one component on a blog, or a website which has links to publications and things. I'm not sure. it's an experiment, but you know, it was very nice to hear Inga talking, or read it on Twitter, about the fact that the Thesis Whisperer was her 7th blog. Like, these things take time to work out and to kind of learn how to do, and so the fact that this is an experiment and a work in progress and I'm not sure where it's going is certainly nothing to be worried about. Good evening, guys. So I am now coming to you from bed. I've just been sitting propped up on a couple of pillows doing some work on my conference paper. Nice and comfortable and relaxed. Yeah, so I have decided to stop work. I'm going to go and make some dinner and then get an early night. Tomorrow I'm hoping to finish the first conference paper, which I am on track to do. It's I think I will vlog tomorrow mainly about my process writing conference papers and provide some kind of information about how I write conference papers, some links to places where I've learnt tips and tricks about writing conference papers. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you come back tomorrow, because I'm doing 2 at the moment, so I certainly have lots to say about my process writing conference papers. Anyway, I will look forward to speaking to you then. Alright, see you tomorrow. Bye.